now it's like I almost feel like with this new album, it's like almost back to where I started in a lot of ways. Like a lot of people are talking about Through the Rain and saying that the song, really reminds them of like some of my earlier songs, and of course like the message of hope and all that kind of stuff. But there's like a lot of like songs with different live musicians and stuff like that on this record that it just reminds me of like when I first started and I didn't have like the pressure of the label people like telling me what to do and stuff.
Throughout 1989, Mariah amassed many air miles as she commuted between Tarpan Studios at San Rafael in California and the Hit Factory in New York, cutting tracks for her debut disc. Rhett Lawrence was immediately taken with the song Vision of Love, which Mariah and Ben had written just after she'd signed to Columbia. He saw great promise in this track but wanted to rework it, changing the tempo from a 1950s shuffle to something more modern, direct and memorable. The veteran producer's second stroke of genius was to take Mariah's vocal from the original demo and use it as a second voice in the song. By 1990, there was a palpable sense of eager anticipation surrounding Mariah in the record industry. Her self-titled debut was penciled in for a June release. In April, she played at an exclusive function in New York, where she sang 3 songs to an invitation-only audience, accompanied by the veteran R&B player Richard T on piano. This received such an overwhelming response that she performed live on 2 of America's biggest television shows, The Tonight Show and The Arsenio Hall Show. Mariah also created waves when she sang the national anthem at the NBA basketball finals, an honour usually reserved for seasoned, well-known figures and not young tyros. The heavily promoted eponymous debut album arrived in June 1990, and critical plaudits were coming in from left, right and centre. The incredible virtuosity of her voice invited comparisons with Whitney Houston, but here was something radically different, something with more guts and energy. The fact that she was neither white or black worked in her favour too, giving her a distinctive, unique position in the contemporary female pop star firmament. It entered Billboard's charts at number 80, a creditable position for an unknown artist, and progressed upwards as it was propelled by the smash hit success of the lead single, Vision of Love. This slab of up-tempo effervescent pop entered the singles chart on June the 2nd and hit number 1 some 9 weeks later, toppling She Ain't Worth It, the duet between Glenn Medeiros and Bobby Brown, from pole position. Vision of Love confirmed Mariah's standing as a major new talent and stayed at the top throughout the month of August. The smash hit singles kept coming, as Love Takes Time, Someday and I Don't Want to Cry all hit the number 1 spot and increased interest in the Mariah Carey album. It wasn't until March of the following year that it finally reached the summit of the album chart, but once there it spent a staggering 22 weeks at pole position. It was certified 8 times platinum and shifted an astonishing 12 million units worldwide. Love Takes Time was debuted on NBC's Saturday Night Live in late October and hit the top just 3 weeks later. In Britain, the record-buying public was slower to embrace her music, but Vision of Love reached number 9 in September, and the album climbed 3 places higher. Love Takes Time reached 37 in December. Meanwhile, Mariah was invited back on The Tonight Show in November. In February 1991, Mariah issued a compilation of video clips to illustrate the debut album's songs Mariah Carey, The First Vision. This 9-track set charted in Britain and the US and contained 6 album cuts, plus a song called All in Your Mind, another entitled Who's Loving You, and a magnificent version of Aretha Franklin's Don't Play That Song. Also in February, she won 2 Grammy Awards for Best New Artist and Best Pop Vocal Performance at the 33rd Grammy Awards ceremony at Radio City Music Hall in New York. Readers of Rolling Stone magazine voted her the best new female singer, and she won 3 honours in the R&B Urban category at the Soul Train Awards at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. The title track of her second quadruple platinum-selling album of 1991, Emotions, generated her 5th consecutive number 1. The album earned her 2 Grammy nominations and an American Music Award for Favourite Female Soul R&B Artist. Emotions is another heartfelt collection of gorgeous ballads and vivacious up-tempo material. While steeped in the same musicality as her debut, it makes for a more consistent listen and sounds more like a project, a journey, than a swiftly assembled collection of singles. Her lung-bursting vocal acrobatics and attention to musical detail raise goosebumps on your skin at every turn. The Can't Let Go and Make It Happen singles charted in the top 5, and her blanket MTV exposure generated even more sales, acclaim and coverage elsewhere across the world's media. Her next project was an appearance on MTV's Unplugged show on March 17, 1992, which was warmly received and led to the release of the 5 million selling MTV Unplugged EP. Certified triple platinum in the US, this release became her 6th #1 single and introduced the Jackson 5's I'll Be There to a new, younger audience in the process. It also generated a recording contract for the backing singer, Trey Lorenz.
I don't know. I feel like I'm still the same person I was before I became famous, and so I expect everybody to look at me like that, but they don't.
In the midst of all this dizzying success, Mariah dated and fell in love with Tommy Mottola, who was 2 decades her senior and already had 2 young children. In June 1993, they got married in a headline-grabbing, celebrity-filled ceremony. Inspired by Charles and Diana at their royal wedding, they sunk $500,000 into the proceedings. 50 flower girls, an 80-piece orchestra and a boys' choir attended alongside some 300 guests. The likes of Barbra Streisand, Bruce Springsteen, Ozzy Osbourne and Robert De Niro were just a few of the luminaries present. The happy couple bought a huge mansion outside Manhattan as their marriage home. Meanwhile, her musical career was exploding. In 1993, she released the Music Box album, another smouldering, sophisticated set of classy material. This remarkable album sold more than 24 million copies worldwide and was certified 10 times platinum. It yielded her 7th and 8th #1 singles in Dream Lover and Hero, as well as the top 10 hit cover of Without You. This banished any memories of Nilsson's version to history as her soaring tones transformed the song. It quickly became embedded in the popular consciousness and became a staple request in karaoke clubs. Music Box is a landmark release for Mariah, not just because it became her biggest seller. It packs a mighty emotional punch and triggers a range of emotions in the listener. There are soul-bearing, bombastic ballads, tender moments of quiet poignancy and unforgettable melodies, quite possibly the strongest of her career. She exudes a vulnerability throughout that invites comparison with the naked emotion of legendary American soul stylists like Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick, Etta James, Minnie Riperton and Candy Staton. She is on scintillating vocal form throughout, and her backroom team all acquit themselves admirably to service this talismanic, iconic figure. Featuring such classic songs as Never Forget You, All I've Ever Wanted, Just to Hold You Once Again, Anytime You Need a Friend and I've Been Thinking About You, this album is pristine Mariah. These tunes, co-written and co-produced by Mariah with Walter Anasif, display her dizzying soprano to fine effect and evoke the best of Minnie Riperton's solo work in the 70s. Babyface's Never Forget You is one of the strongest ballads she's ever been given, while Now That I Know gets a lush C&C Music Factory sheen. The title track begins with keys that actually sound like a music box, and Dream Lover seduces you with its keyboards, dreamy vocals and drum machines pitched perfectly against fizzying synthesizers. Just to Hold You Once Again is quite wonderful with its plangent organ synth and rousing gospel choir. Mariah followed this groundbreaking release with her holiday album entitled Merry Christmas, which shifted 8 million units worldwide shortly after its release in November 1994 and was certified quadruple platinum. This charming seasonal collection is irresistible, covering all the basic ingredients that it takes to become a standard classic. featuring Christmas tunes like Santa Claus is Coming to Town and Joy to the World alongside rousing original material such as All I Want for Christmas Is You and Miss You Most. It soothes, lifts and surprises with a glossy production, exemplary musicianship and incandescent performances. Mariah's touching and flawless vocal on Silent Night sends shivers down your spine and induces goosebump overload, whilst her own Jesus Born on This Day is a beautiful, luscious modern hymn that utilises a boys' choir with immaculate taste. Critics praised her slinky takes on secular tracks like Christmas, Baby Please Come On Home, and her mellifluous All I Want for Christmas Is You. But she really took her art to another level with her unadorned delivery of a series of traditional carols, exemplified by Silent Night and Jesus, Oh What a Wonderful Child. On the latter, she and the choir imbue the song with an immense amount of pure joy and energy, creating a noise that rises like a church congregation in full flow. This album took up residence in the record collections of so many people who wouldn't have described themselves as Mariah fans, and showed her versatility and depth of artistry. It seemed that she could master anything she turned her voice to.
Some of the songs I write are based on like other friends of mine I might have, some are based on like a scenario that I create, and some are based on true life experiences and directed at specific people or specific instances, but not everything is autobiographical.
In 1995, Mariah's Daydream album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard album chart and spawned her 9th, 10th and 11th number 1 singles in Fantasy, One Sweet Day and Always Be My Baby. It was certified platinum 10 times over, and she became the first female artist in chart history to have 3 studio albums sell in excess of 8 million copies. Her collaboration with Boyz II Men, One Sweet Day, shattered records in spending an astonishing 16 consecutive weeks at number 1, and Always Be My Baby enjoyed a fortnight at the top. Singles from this album spent an unprecedented 6 months at the top of the charts. At this point, Mariah stood at the apex of the pop firmament, looking down on practically everyone else operating in pop music. The Daydream album represents something of a stylistic departure, edging towards a hip-hop sound and incorporating subtle sampling. It is an inspired synthesis of vibrant hip-hop inflected dance pop and lush ballads, oozing sex appeal and a swaggering self-confidence. Mariah and Boyz II Men proved to be a perfect vocal match, made in some fantasy musical league. The steal from Tom Tom Club's Genius of Love on Fantasy is irreverent and audacious, but comes off, and even the stab at the Journey classic Open Arms takes the song to another plateau. In 1996, Mariah announced that she was to set up a label called Crave Records as a vanity project. Blue Denim, a hip-hop duo, were the first act signed to Crave, though the first hit for the label came with Allure's Head Over Heels in 1997. However, cracks began to appear in her marriage, and after 5 years together, Mariah and Tommy Mottola split. In March 1998, she flew to the Dominican Republic to obtain a divorce. Immediately after getting it, she flew to Tampa to take in an exhibition match featuring the New York Yankees shortstop Derek Jeter, with whom she was romantically linked. In the meantime, there was yet another new album to hit the shelves. Her 1997 album, Butterfly, a heady, sensual mix of contemporary hip-hop laced R&B and AOR pop, was her most hip-hop flavoured record and took her muse into a whole new dimension. This stylish, modern masterpiece was a massive success and was bolstered by her new flesh-bearing image. It produced the number 1 hit singles Honey featuring Mace and the Lox and My All, taking her tally to 13 number 1s. Butterfly reached quadruple platinum status. Recorded at the Hit Factory in New York with a production team encompassing David Morales and Sean Puffy Coombs, Butterfly sees a mature and contemplative Mariah on top form, displaying her familiar otherworldly vocal abilities tempered by a new restraint, as well as an infallible ear for driving rhythm-based hook-laden music. The up-tempo songs are flawlessly produced and catchy, while the title cut soars with the spirit of liberation and independence. Butterfly is stuffed full of hopeful, optimistic, uplifting moments, but is also infused with a deep, profound sense of pathos and loss, as displayed on a sequence of exquisite romantic ballads, most notably Breakdown, a gloriously simple song inspired by Tears of a Clown by Smokey Robinson. Here she sings of hiding her real self from the outside world and putting on a public face in spite of her private demons. Butterfly was nominated for a 1998 Grammy Award for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, and Honey was nominated for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance and Best R&B Song. Meanwhile, her romance with Derek Jeter fizzled out, with Mariah blaming the press's negative coverage for the split. Media pressure proved too much for them to continue as a couple.
The other day I was doing this TV show it was in France, and it was like the dressing room was filled with people, and they were all people that were sort of there because of me, and I was kind of like, why are all these people here? Can't I get 5 minutes alone? This is ridiculous.
In November 1998, Mariah unleashed her Number Ones album, a compilation of 13 of her chart toppers, as well as 4 brand new bonus cuts: Sweetheart, I Still Believe, Whenever You Call, a duet with Brian McKnight, and When You Believe from the Prince of Egypt, with her closest rival, Whitney Houston. This represented the finest track record of any musical artist of the modern era. The collection debuted and peaked at number 4 on the Billboard album charts and sold 5 million copies, attaining 5 times platinum status. With her duet with Whitney selling by the bucketful and creating waves of media attention, Mariah was put under pressure to either come up with a new studio album or release a greatest hits compilation. As she felt less inclined to put out a new album at the time and was working on her movie soundtrack project for Glitter, she opted for the best of choice. I Still Believe was added as a tribute to Brenda K. Starr, and international versions of the record contained Without You, not a number 1, and a cover of the Diana Ross smash hit Do You Know Where You're Going To. Meanwhile, more smash hits followed. In 1999, she beat the Beatles to become the artist with the most cumulative weeks spent at the top of the Hot 100 singles chart. With her 1999 album Rainbow, she chose to share the rollercoaster emotional ride of her marriage and divorce with her listeners on a concept album that delved deep into her psyche. On the record, she continues to walk the tightrope between streetwise hip-hop soul and adult contemporary accessibility. Heartbreaker is woozy bubblegum pop R&B given some grit and grind courtesy of Jay-Z. The Snoop Dogg duet Crybaby is possibly the finest groove he's been involved in for a number of years, and Mariah's rendition of Phil Collins' lachrymose ballad Against All Odds is a genius work of reinterpretation. Petals is a beautiful, sad ballad about flying away to retain some mental strength, sanity, and emotional distance from major problems. Thank God I Found You is a lush love song in collaboration with Joe and 98 Degrees. And How Much is a slinky, sultry tune that trades vocals with Usher over a plaintive, spaced-out backing. Mariah is in magnificent form here, showcasing her remarkable range on cuts like Bliss and the gospel-tinged Can't Take That Away, Mariah's theme. It also features her 14th number 1 single, Heartbreaker, which also became her 6th chart-topping R&B single. She surpassed the Supremes and Madonna in having more number 1s than any other female artist and more number 1s than any currently active recording artist. She also became the only singer to have enjoyed a number 1 single for every year of the decade. In January 2000, Mariah received the coveted American Music Award for Special Achievement, an award that had only been given on 3 previous occasions, including Prince and Michael Jackson. At the Billboard Music Awards in December 2000, she was honoured with the Artist of the Decade prize, and she was awarded the Best-Selling Female Artist of the Millennium Award at the World Music Awards. Mariah was on top of the world, unassailable and irrepressible. It seemed that she could do no wrong.